Welcome back, everyone, to a special look at Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. The beta of version 1.05 is now available through Steam, and all you need to do is go in and enable your betas. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you exactly how to do that if you want to. So if you go into Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts in Steam, right-click, go to Properties, and then click on Betas right here, and then just go here and switch this from None to beta branch. That will enable the beta, and that will give you access to the latest version, which has unlocked a ton of new things. In fact, let's go ahead and show you in the news. Map expansion. Expanded map to include the Mediterranean Sea and a larger portion of Europe. We now have playable Italy, France, and Austria-Hungary added to the major nations. The nations form two rival alliances and fight with each other for total victory. This is temporary functionality until we offer the prolonged campaign system. So that's not yet available. Previously, you were able to move ships only between ports. You can now also form task forces by grouping ships and sending them to any sea point on the map. This is huge because now we can decide what the makeup of our forces will be. Putting together fleets with capital ships and escort ships, things like that. In this way, you block strategic passages and generate missions according to the ships in the vicinity. We now have a refit mode where you can refit your ships from changing a few components to radically replacing weapons, funnels, towers, and modern variations. New sea roles. Before we just had in-being and sea control. There's now special for the task forces, offering more options for controlling strategically your ships. Interface improvements. There's a new tab called Politics, where you will later manage some diplomacy aspects. Now you're able to overview the relations and powers of all nations. They've also added an economy growth to the GDP, which will be dependent later on various conditions. Maintenance cost is balanced so it's not so high now that ships will spend more time at sea. There's some new hulls to be announced. Major new features: customization of the beam and the draught. You can now adjust the width and height of the hull in design options. That'll affect hull characteristics and the performance of your ships. Now you can decide distribution of AP and HE rounds, which is fantastic news. That really gives a ton of customization. And there's new components for those shells. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the new map and some of the new features. So we still only have available to us what we have unlocked. And so for the new nations, we're stuck with 1890 for the time being. So I'm just going to go to the French Empire and select it. And you can change AI opponents from random to historical. We'll keep them historical for now. But let's go ahead and dive into the map. All right, so here's our new map, and we're only seeing in North Europe French, German, and Austro-Hungarian. I'm not sure why we're not seeing. Oh, we have to look on the different sectors, I guess. Eastern Mediterranean, Western Mediterranean. So this is pretty cool. You can look on each one of these things and see what fleets are in the area and what power projection is in that area, the tonnage, the specific ships. So that's pretty neat. North Atlantic, here we see the French and the British and their tonnage and power projection. So it's all about balancing the different areas and what you want to accomplish in those areas. We also see that the French are at war with the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians. So that's like where we start as the French right off the bat. Here's the politics screen. So we see each nation, the type of government, the public opinion, the naval prestige, the number of provinces they control, and their technology levels. Very cool to be able to see all that. Their GDP, growth of that GDP, the naval budget, naval funds, the crew pool. So that's a lot of really helpful information that is nice to have in a campaign to kind of see how you stack up against the enemy at any given point. That'll definitely help a lot with being able to decide what you want to build, how you want to manage things, stuff like that. Here's our finances screen, which hasn't really changed. Boy, France only has 9,500 tons, but I guess it is 1890. Here's our research screen, which hasn't really changed. Here's our ship design and then our fleet. And you can see here, still just in-being or sea control, but now we have the ability on the world map to determine where we're going to send those ships. So here we go to Le Havre, for example, and we see the fleet that is there: a battleship, 5 heavy cruisers, 7 light cruisers, 9 torpedo boats. And we can click on Move, and then we do the right mouse button to decide where we want to move them. Oh, so we're moving them from one port to another. So we can move them from Le Havre to, say, Nice. And now we can determine which ones. It's going to take them 5 turns to get to Nice, depending on what it is that we're moving. Total distance, 3,000 kilometers. So there you have that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ship design phase of things now that we've got some new features there. So obviously 2 of the biggest changes are the ability to make the ship wider, which you can see here. That's really cool. You can make it thinner or wider, and you can see the impact that that has on the size of the ship, things like that. And then, of course, how high it is right there. We can make it low to the ground or higher, and that affects the size as well, big time. We still have our crew quarters, things like that. How about let's go down here to some of the new features, like, well, I guess first we got to put some guns on this thing. So putting the guns on there now, we've got the armament choices. So max HE, increased HE, standard ratio, etc. So we could change this to max AP. So you could actually load a ship if you wanted to with only AP shells or only HE shells, depending on what you're after. Or you can do a mix of one and the other. You can balance those exactly how you want them to be. And then your base fuse for your shells, for AP and HE shells. Your shell size is still there. Your propellant, your powder, all of that hasn't changed. So I've taken one of the existing designs and I copied it just so we can get a little bit of a sense of how this affects things. So let's say we start changing the draught of the ship, the drought, however you want to pronounce that. You can look over to the right and see how it impacts all of these various things, like displacement, engine power, course change time. Your visibility range is going up because we're raising it up higher. So all of those things get impacted by it. If we go this way, we're seeing the same thing. Visibility range is going up. Course change time, turning rate is changing. So it affects our maneuverability significantly. So those are just some really cool new customization features that really add to the depth of all of this. So I'm pretty excited about how all that will play out. I'm not going to start a new series just yet because we've got our CK3 series going on, but also starting a new Grand Tactician series. But we'll probably dabble into this here and there a little bit. I'm going to play some on my own just to kind of raise up our ability to start at a newer time with one of these nations. But let me know your thoughts. Use the comment section below. If you have the game, check that out for yourself. I think it's exciting, and it's another step toward what I think will be one of the best naval combat games ever made. Thanks for watching.